Hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell, and you know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern, Saturday morning, time for another episode of Sales Logic. I am in my office in Asheville, North Carolina. Partners in its office in Dallas, Texas. And Mark, we got a good show today, don't we?
We do have a great show. We are going to be talking about burnout, how to deal with stress, burnout, and the pressure in sales. And here we are talking about it at 7 o'clock Central Time on a Saturday morning. Great topic.
All right, I'm going to start the video. We will jump into this show. All right, again, Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Mark and I come to you every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our episode of Sales Logic, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to sell logically and be more effective at this incredible skill. Now, before Mark tells you what's on tap for today, I like to tell you how the show works because we want you, the audience, to participate. Every week, we have a hot topic. We start off with a question from you, the audience. So that's right. If you want to be a part of Sales Logic, go to saleslogicpodcast.com. Just put your question in there. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about. We recommend a book. And because we want you to leave with return on investment, we give you a lightning round. So Mark, what's up today?
Well, the topic today we're talking about is how to deal with stress, burnout, and pressure in sales. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of salespeople are dealing with this. This is a common topic that you and I both get hit upon a lot. And let's not kid ourselves, you and I, we teeter on that edge all the time too, I think. Anyway.
Yeah.
And hey, we got a great question. We got a great book. So it's a great show. So let's jump right into the question. The question comes from Regina in Santa Barbara. She says, I'm in tech sales. Been selling technology and pharmaceuticals for more than 20 years. But I have to tell you, these last few years have been rougher than anything I can remember. The competition, pressure to hit goals, protect margins, and the list goes on and on. I want and need to work 5 to 7 more years. And right now I'm wondering if I can make it. What advice do you have for me?
Yeah, Mark, I think this is such a good topic because I have had so many clients talking to me, whether it's their own burnout or they're talking to me, they're really worried about their, really worried about their team. And so I think there's a couple of things. I got asked a great question yesterday on how do you keep a team motivated? And I would say, number one, you need to make sure that you have created a path that helps people understand how to be successful. In other words, if you don't have a sales process, if you have not designed the behavior system for your team to follow, then they're basically out there trying to decide how to be successful. And if people don't know how to be successful, they're going to struggle, and that's going to unmotivate them, and that's going to burn them out.
Meridith, you just hit a real sore spot with so many teams. I was with a couple teams this week, and that's a key issue. Salespeople are floundering, and when they are left to flounder, they will burn out because they don't know where to go. But I'll tell you what, it starts with that sales leader, that sales manager. Regina, you're sitting here in tech and pharmaceutical. I mean, two very high pressured industries, and you got to stop and ask yourself this question: am I truly focused on doing what I'm doing? Now, focus does not translate into working more hours. It does not translate.
Yeah.
No. Focus means focused on what your objectives are and how you're going to accomplish it. You and I both know Alan Weiss. And Alan Weiss is kind of the consultant to consultants. And he always says, you strive to get done with your 3 or 4 things, and that's it. Then you shut it down. What are the big 3 or 4 things? You don't look to work all day. Okay, now that may be hard for you, Regina, to comprehend and understand. But keep your focus. Your focus is to keep your focus on the focus. It's not about putting in the hours. It's not about, because I'll tell you what, if you do, you will burn yourself out. And the focus is on the people you get to serve. Keep your focus on people. And I find that's a much more relaxing way than trying to look at numbers. Oh, I got to hit these numbers. I got to hit these numbers. Look at how are you going to help these people?
That's a great, like, really get your head right around. I think burnout comes because we worry more about goals and we worry more about closing the deal. And you really need to stop worrying about closing the deal and worrying about doing the behaviors every day. The way to avoid burnout comes down to one word, and that word is consistency. How consistent are you with the sales process? I mean, I do my sales calls every day. Some weeks, like yesterday, I had like 4 deals come through. The week before that, I didn't have anything come through. I can't control that part of the sales process. I can't control when people reach out to me. I can't control, when people are ready to buy. I can't control that, but I can control how many touches and how many reaches. And I think that stress comes from worry. And the best way to get rid of worry is action. Fear, you get rid of fear with action.
And action in the right manner. I'll go back to my days when I was director of sales in corporate America, and I'd have people come into my office and they just stressed out and how are we going to solve this problem? And I go, relax. Nothing we do here today is going to change the course of mankind tomorrow. I mean, that became a famous line around this Fortune 100 company I was at because they go, Hunter's talking again. And the whole premise is relax, because it is so interesting. If you focus on the stress, it's amazing how you create more stress.
Mm-hmm.
If you focus on the benefit or the gain, it's amazing. I had a gentleman tell me, he said, what you really have to do is you have to find something in your life that you release everything to. In other words, Regina, you've got this stressful work. You may be working from home and you're out on the road a couple days a week, whatever. But you have to have this time each day. And it might be 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6, might be 4, 3. I don't care. But where you shift your position completely, you shift it, and it might be to a different chair. It might be to a different, but and it might be something that you're going to eat or something you're going to drink, but it's something that you just do completely different. And you set that time, and that is your moment to release and shift into your other behavior, home life outside of work. Because stress and burnout comes when you are focused on your job 24/7. You just can't do it. You and I both work an insane number of hours, but we both have incredible release mechanisms that we literally just shut it down and walk away. And you have to be able to do that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love Brad's comment here. Fear and anxiety is a result of feeling out of control. Remember, you are always in control. Focus on your bigger mission plan and know you are in control. And with time, you will win. So well said, Brad. Time is everything. Like I said, Regina, I don't know what your sales leader is like. And if you're lucky, you've got a great one. If you're not, let go of, don't worry about it. I mean, you can't do anything about it, but what you can do is create your own sales process. Mark did it for his business. I did it for my business. In other words, I got asked this question yesterday on a podcast. I know if I make X amount of calls a day, which for me is no more than 3, I know it will lead to 8 proposals a month, which will lead to 4 proposals a month. So I understand the target that I'm focused on. I understand the number of behaviors the calls I've got to make, the number of proposals I need to write, the number that I should win, and the number I should lose. Now, my target every month is to win 4 a month and to lose 2 a month. Some months I win 6. Some months I don't win any. That's okay. I'm not looking for the short term. I'm looking for the average overall. But what I know is those behaviors will lead to that. Now, if you'd have talked to me 6 months ago, I was only making 2 calls a day, but some things shifted in the economy and my behaviors weren't quite getting me where I needed to get to. What I want to stress is this is exactly what Brad just said. I didn't burn out because I'm focused on what I can control. And he is so right. Giving yourself some semblance of control is what is what keeps burnout at bay.
Yes, I love the comment here from John. Let me see if I can get it up there. I tell my teams that it's best to eat one bite at a time. This is so key because you have to break it down into smaller activities. When you break it down into smaller activities, it's amazing what you can do. I just got done doing a series of programs for a tech hardware company. And the organization was just, they just couldn't prospect. They just didn't want to prospect. They just want to prospect. And walk them through a series of steps, breaking it down into small little pieces. John picks up on just what you said. It's one bite at a time, and create that repetitive model. And it's amazing, John. You should have been there, because don't get lost in the fog, as you say. That's exactly what I was doing, bringing them out of the fog, because they were so overwhelmed by the big task. Break it down into small pieces, and it's amazing at what you can accomplish.
Yeah, I love, I want to comment here, Brad, you did good work today, because we've got a LinkedIn user that really needed to hear to hear what you had to say. The other thing is, you're saying you've got 5 to 7 more years. And these last couple of years have been particularly bad in all the years that you have been doing this. I just advised one of my clients to do a seeds, weeds, and needs on their sales process. Take some time. They're headed into the last quarter of the year and they're behind. And so take some time and ask yourself the question, what did we do that really worked? What's our seed? What do we need to do more of? What is moving the needle and winning us business? Weed is, where do we waste time and energy? And there is no salesperson out there, including me, including Mark, that doesn't waste time in sales. We call the wrong people. We negotiate the bad deal. We do stupid stuff. And then the last is, what do you need to be doing that you're not doing that could push something to another level? And if you do that, you'll understand how your sales process needs to change. Because Regina, what I think is happening is you're burning out because you're doing what you've always done in a market that is shifting on you.
I want to pick up on that, because also, Regina, think about this. You've been in the business for 20 years, so you've got a tremendous amount of experiences. Celebrate what you do know how to do. Celebrate all of these things that you've gone through, and begin to ask yourself this question. These challenges that you're facing today, think about how they would have hit you even harder 20 years ago. But now, you know what? You've been around, you've seen these things. And as Simon says here in this comment, most sales stress is caused by being afraid to face your failures. Right. See, here's the whole deal. We all fail. Every day we fail. But you know what? Again, a line I love to use, the sun still comes up in the morning. One of the things that I find regarding stress is we become very stressed out on a very close-in number. We get stressed out on something that's happening right now. What's very interesting is few of our challenges, few of our problems that we're dealing with today are really going to be on our radar screen 6 months from now. It's amazing. And we have to be willing to play the long game. When you play the long game, it is amazing at what happens. And I'm going to go back, Regina, at the end of every day, celebrate whatever wins you had. The win you may have been only one successful phone call, but that's it. Celebrate it. Always focus on what you're doing right. Don't focus on what you're doing wrong, because guess what? It just causes you to literally shut down and not see the opportunities out there.
Yeah, I think the most powerful thing that Simon said here is, if you miss your quarterly, don't panic. But what I love is that Simon is looking at what he did quarterly. Burnout and stress comes when you're 9 months into the sales process and you're so far behind your goal. Check it every month. Just take the time, look at it and go, wow, like August has been such a good month for me. July sucked wind. So I looked at July, and you know what? There are some things that personally I did wrong in July where I wasted time. I was able to correct those and move those for August and make changes to it. So I really believe there's no better sales coach out there than you. Watch what you're doing. If you commit to the behaviors and you watch those behaviors, then just make some adjustments in it and you'll do really, really well. Boy, we have comments coming in like crazy.
I love the comments that are coming in. And this is what's so key. You have to be willing to look at what you didn't do right, but don't sit there and dwell on it. Because when you dwell on it, this is where you get focused in the wrong direction. You focus on the gain that is potential. You focus on what is out there. That's so key, because I see so many times in sales, we have one deal that goes away. And then what happens is it puts us into a burnout mode. I can't sell. And an old simple technique is just pick up the phone and call some of your successful customers, call some of the people that you know you've satisfied, and let them tell you why the work that you've done. And this again comes back being people focused. When we're people focused, it is amazing at how many more opportunities we will see. Because I'll tell you what, if you dwell on the negatives, you will become very negative.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Hugh definitely agrees with you here. Oh gosh, I meant to bring, Hugh just sent me the greatest book. I meant to bring it up here and put it on the show. Hugh, I'll do that. I'll do that next week. I've had my head in it all week long. I got it as soon as I got home, went through the mail. So thank you for that. But
well, I mean, excuse me, but Hugh, you haven't sent me the book. So come on, Hugh. Step up, step up.
The other thing that I want to say is, Regina, I don't know who you're surrounding yourself with, but that's really, really, really key. You need to, we did a whole show one time on what to do when your sales manager sucks. And a lot of times sales managers suck. They're just not good at motivating and leading people. You need to find yourself a group of people that are really focused on the same things that you are. The other is, I'm going to allow yourself to feel the emotions. My husband laughs because on a weekly basis, I either think we're going broke or we're going to live a life of luxury. I mean, if the phone doesn't ring all week, I completely freak out. Nobody's answering my emails and I'll run around the house saying, oh my God, I'm never going to close anything again. It's awful, whatever. And then the next week I'm like, oh my God, I have so much business. I can't possibly keep up with it. And it's become like a joke between us. And he reminds me, Meridith, you said last week that you had so much business you couldn't keep up with. Just ride the wave type of a thing. Like, he's good for me, a really good balance of when I start to spin out of control, to kind of bring me back in to that arena. But my point is, I'm not leaving these feelings stuffed in me. I get them out so they can pass through, so I can get back focused on what I need to focus on. So find somebody who can support you in that, because I'm sorry, when I have a week when nobody's responding to anything, I am sure my business is going into the tank. We're going broke and we're going to live on the street. I need to get that out of me. And then once I get that out of me, I can go back to what I need to do.
Well, that really goes back to this whole teeter-totter seesaw.
Yeah.
If you stop and think about this for a moment, if you're focused on sales, guess what? The teeter-totter is down on the ground.
Yeah.
You've got to create a counterbalance, whatever it is in your life. And for you and I, we have our mastermind group, and it's a way for us to share and build and keep balance. You've got to have something in your life that creates balance, because I'll tell you what, otherwise you are going to burn out quickly. Go back to some of the old days in Japan, not the old days back in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. There were Japanese businessmen, women didn't work at that time, businessmen who would literally die at their desk because of a sheer exhaustion and stress of what they were doing. Okay, that's the ultimate dark side. But I'll tell you why, because they never allowed themselves to have that alternative life out there. And not alternative life, that's your primary life. You have to stop and ask yourself, hey, I love what I do. I work way too many hours. But you know what? I love what I do because I get to deal with people. It's people. If you're people focused, it's amazing at how it changes your whole focus.
Yeah, we have a real psychology expert with us today, Roberta Moore, saying that burnout can be overgiving. When my self-regard was lower, I overdid it to make sure I was adding value. So well said, Roberta. We've got to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. Mark is talking about, this, or, your main life and making sure you have balance there. Something we haven't talked about on this show that I think is really important is managing your energy, not your time. Like, I used to work in an environment where we had to be in the office from 8 until 5. That does not work for me. I work in 2-hour time frames, and I can't focus longer than 2 hours. That doesn't work for me. So a typical day for me is up between 4 and 5. I work until about 6. I play tennis with my friends. I come home, I work until about 11 or 12. I might go for a mountain bike ride, or I'll go play golf with my husband or my girlfriends. I come back, I work a few more hours. Rob and I will go do something, and then I'll go back and I'll work again at night. And that constant movement, my sports activities and my friends pour energy into me, and that gives me the ability to be more productive. And I think knowing your own work cycle and knowing what how you stay motivated is really important, because I have other friends, like my nephew and I just went for a hike the other day, and he was talking about the fact he likes working. He works from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and he likes that. I mean, he wants to go to work, get it all in. At 2 o'clock, he wants to go somewhere and he wants to ride a mountain bike. He wants to go for a hike. He wants to be done. That does not work for me.
See, but that's understanding your rhythm.
Yeah.
When you understand your rhythm, it is amazing at how things, it's amazing how you suddenly become in the zone. You're in the zone and you make things happen. I mean, I've got a very set rhythm. I'm up at 4:30 every morning, and I thoroughly love it. And I have a very set routine, and it just gears me up. And what does that do? It allows me to roll through the day. Here's the other thing regarding stress and burnout, all this sort of stuff. You got to make sure that you take time to celebrate. I mentioned this earlier. You celebrate your win at the end of each day. But celebrate. You may have had a lousy week, okay, but was there something? And Friday night, go out and do something, or Saturday night, go out and do something. Celebrate it. You have to celebrate your wins regardless of what they are. And you know what's interesting? It's amazing how small wins then eventually become bigger wins, bigger wins, bigger wins. But go back to what you were saying, Meridith. It's people you're hanging out with. If you're hanging out with the wrong people, guess what? Ooh, it's going to be that much harder to try to correct yourself. Bryn has a great comment. Always love hearing from Bryn Tillman.
Me too.
Breaking it down and create an easy to tailor outreach process and scale. Yeah, when it comes to prospecting, this is what we've been talking about. You do it down into small. If you look at the overwhelming feature, I remember when my kids were in school. They'd get stressed out over the paper they had to write the next day or something like that. Well, why didn't you wait till the night before to do it? Okay, that's a whole separate issue when you're raising kids. But the whole deal is because it overwhelms them. But when you break it down into small pieces, it is amazing at how things happen, things work.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I want to mention Patrick Tinney's got a new book coming out. Patrick will definitely feature that on here when you get. Dave's talking about the gain and the gap, and comment here from Jeffrey Hillen. So good. You need a mentor or accountability partner you trust to help you through it. You need to shift your mindset and have help and not do it alone. I agree. Just like I said, that freedom to say in my house that I'm freaked out that my sales calls haven't worked this week, and my husband kind of balancing that with me is very, very helpful. I feel like if I kept it in, I would worry about that. I think the most important things, though, when it comes to burnout is make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people. Make sure you have a behavioral process that you're working. Make sure you are consistent as heck with it. And last but not least, make sure that you reflect on it at least on a monthly, if not on a quarterly basis, to see what of your behaviors are getting to where you need to get to and what aren't. It's kind of like when you go on a health kick or you go on a diet or something, you focus on eating right. You focus on exercising. You focus on meditation, whatever it is that you have decided is your plan, then you'll plateau. And that plateau is when you need to do something to shake it up. Your sales process works the same way. You can't be doing the same things you were doing 3 years ago because the marketplace shifted, got used to it, and you need to shake things up a bit.
I want to pick up on that because that's so true. And comments are coming in. Patrick shares the comment. He says, learn to meditate. Roberta says the same thing. Every morning I'm up at 4:30 and I'm spending time in quiet reflection myself, meditating. My faith is very, very important to me. And that's how I anchor my day. Then I get into a period of exercising, but it's a very set routine. And then I reflect on my goals. What are my goals? And it literally allows me to start the day in a much more efficient, much more effective manner with a lot more gas in the gas tank. Because one of the things I find with people who are burned out is they struggle to get going in the morning. They just struggle. And I don't find that problem. I mean, like I said, the alarm goes off at 4:30 and I'm up and it's great. Of course, it's always better with a cup of coffee too. But it's a routine that allows me. And over the last several years, I've even accelerated that even more. You and I were trading notes yesterday. I've had some changes in my business. I'm adding another person to my company and doing some additional things. And it's allowing me to then just keep accelerating, and avoiding the burnout, because if I wasn't changing, I'd be burned out. No.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I want to mention, Rajiv, I hope I pronounced your name right. Walking is really helpful. Oh my gosh. If you are feeling burned out, go for a walk in the woods. To me, there is nothing better than that to kind of clear your head, get perspective. Again, Mark, I really feel like we need to do a show on managing energy, not managing time, and giving people permission. Like you said, I'll use your word about rhythm, is that how I manage my day is not how Mark manages his day. And that's okay. And a lot of times when you work in a corporate environment, they're telling you one way to manage your day. And you have to know what works for you in order to make you productive.
Oh, we got to do a show on that, because your day doesn't start when you start work. Your day begins when you wake up.
Yes.
Your time. Use that time to your advantage. Love it.
Yeah. Jack Hubbard, I learned from Jack Hubbard years ago, who joins us on a weekly basis. He had a long commute to work, and he would just make phone calls the whole time he was going in to work. And it really changed my perspective, because I used to think work started when I went to the office, and it isn't. When you wake up, getting that routine right. And listen, we will talk about routine here, because because anybody can get routine. It always cracks me up when people think that I am disciplined. I am the kid who could not make an 11 o'clock class in college because I couldn't get out of bed. So there's a lot to be learned there. All right, Mark, I know we got a book. I know we got a lightning round, and we are burning past time.
Man, we are burning time. Hey, the book, To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. Yeah, of course it's an excellent book. Share some comments.
It's, I really wanted to choose this book for this episode, because if you want to avoid burnout, it's kind of like what Hugh said and what Brad said. Go back to why the heck you're doing this. What matters with sales? And selling isn't this skill that is about being aggressive and it is what we do as human beings to help one another. And Daniel Pink is always amazing. This book, I think, in particular.
Yes, great, excellent. Hey, let's jump to the lightning round. And we should say, hey, join us in the mastermind group. We put the link in there, but the mastermind group, one of the topics we're dealing with, and a lot of new features coming out over the next few weeks. But the mastermind group is really about helping you become the person you can be. Anyway, lightning round. Top 10 ways to take care of your sales team. Go.
Number one, make sure that you celebrate on a weekly basis the things that the team is really, really doing well. Take time to focus on the positives with the sales team.
And recognize individual performance. People love being recognized. Take the time, celebrate with them.
Yeah, I would say that make sure that you have a very well-structured behavioral sales process, that anybody who joins your team is given the roadmap on how to stay successful.
You have to demonstrate an optimistic behavior. You have to demonstrate, because again, your people pick up your behavior. This is just like raising kids. So guess what? If you're burned out, your people will be burned out.
Yeah, make sure you coach the sales team. Make sure you go along on sales calls with them, see what they're doing well, see where they're struggling. If you have somebody on your team who isn't making goal, don't tell them they're not making goal. They know that. Sit down, say, hey, let's you and I go on a few calls. Let's figure out what's going on here. I'm going to help you be successful.
Take the time and get your people focused. The long game. Again, it's so easy for us to get focused. I got to make this number this quarter. I was just with a sales manager yesterday, and he's so focused on end of the quarter's coming up in just about 5 weeks. And and I said, just relax, breathe. You'll find a way to get your way through the number, and then play the long game. What's up for the next quarter? What's up for the next year? But play the long game.
Yeah. You know, I would say that for most sales leaders, you're in a corporate environment. Make sure that people understand on your sales team what the priorities are. Corporate throws a lot of campaigns, a lot of things like that, and they can get you going in a million different directions. But at the end of the day, you've got an overall number you've got to hit. Allow your team to lose the battles in order to win the war.
Wow. Allow your sales team, allow people to realize what you do outside of work. And as you share what you do outside of work, it's amazing how they'll share what they do outside of work. And then begin to build on that, Make that a framework of conversation, because again, there is life outside of the office. Once you share one more, I'll share one more. We'll close it down. Wow, we are.
Yeah. I know we really went over. So, well, we've such a great audience today. If you want to keep your sales team motivated, then number one, you need to make sure that you invest in them if you want them to invest in you. Know who they are, know how they work, make sure that you give them the ability to be the individuals they need to be on the team in order to be successful, and let them know you've got their back.
And the last one, make sure they understand that you care about them personally. It's not just a professional relationship, but you care about them personally. And it's amazing what people will do. Hey, with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, hey, consider leaving a review. Consider telling a friend. Why? Because when you tell a friend, it's really to their advantage, and it's to our advantage, because guess what? We get to have a bigger audience. That's what Sales Logic is all about. Hey, our objective is to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Oh, remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity, I need to go for my run, don't I?
Yeah, yes, you do. Uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage. Now, listen, we want you in the Sales Logic Mastermind. We want you right back here, 8 a.m. Eastern next week. Most importantly, we want you to be really effective at sales. We decide every week what we're going to talk about based on the question we get from you, the audience. So what's burning with you? What's the one thing we can do for you that we can discuss on this show to help you be more effective at sales? Reach out to Mark, reach out to me, or just go to saleslogicpodcast.com. You all are awesome. We'll see you right back here next week.